Gun fam, what's up? It's the Gun Brother. Thank you for tuning in to Guns and Beer. Today we are going to talk about something that we don't really talk about. I don't believe that we talk about enough for public awareness, and that is terrorism and how it's probably closer to you than you think. All right, so as usual on Guns and Beer, just crack a beer. If you're a coffee or a tea person, that's fine. If it's the middle of the day, you can't day drink or whatever, you're still at work. But today I'm on Metal Double IPA from Terrorism. Got the good Smith & Wesson pint glass. But today we're gonna talk about terrorism and really break it down, because the public, when things happen, I always see indications that the public is just not very knowledgeable about what terrorism is, how it works, how it's defined, and what it really means. So cheers, and we'll get into it. Yes. All right. One of the things that happens a lot in the world, and there's been a lot of confusion about the way things are categorized and the reasoning behind how things are categorized. And one of the times that I realized it the most was after the mass shooting at the South Carolina church. When we talk about past shootings and things like that, I don't like to use the shooters' names. However, a lot of people took to the internet and were very upset that he wasn't classified as a terrorist. And in layman's terms, or in basic speak, yes, he caused terror to the community, but that is not how terrorism is defined. And people took it the wrong way, saying, oh, he's not being classified as a terrorist because he's white. No, he's not being classified as a terrorist because what he did was a hate crime. And that's determined typically by the motivation of the crime or by the organizations involved in the crime. So let's talk about it, get it clear, and talk about some recent events that I think we have a situation on our hands. So let's go. So I'm using the DHS definition of terrorism because there are different ones with slight nuances in them. Again, I'll explain it. So terrorism involves the violence or threat of violence against people or property to further a particular ideology. Terrorism can be international or it can be domestic. So when whoever committed the act leaves some sort of manifesto, or later they find out they've been posting to the internet their reasons behind carrying out this act, that is what defines it as terrorism. So the Boston bombers, when one of the brothers, again not using the names, when one of the brothers apparently scrawled his manifesto inside the boat that he was hiding in, and then they found out that the family had been checked on, I think a year prior to the event. One of the brothers had gone back and forth. So those are the factors that made that event terrorism. The Fort Hood shooting, the shooter left or indicated that his attack was based on, and usually it was politics or religion, are the ideologies that are being pushed. And it was based on the religion, and that's what termed or deemed that incident terrorism. Now, the one I want to get into, I want to talk specifically about, is lone wolf terrorism. And that is because I believe that we may be in for more lone wolf attacks. When you look at January 1st, what happened, the guy that I guess detonated a Tesla truck in front of a hotel, I'm not sure if that was classified totally as terrorism. I think there may have been some mental illness there, as well as some personal issues that he had going on, but I'm not sure if his ideology was against the government or religion or anything like that. The truck attack in New Orleans, the attacker left evidence that classified that incident as terrorism. Now, when we talk about lone wolf terrorism, lone wolves are typically individuals, and when we're talking about especially this branch of terrorism, we're talking about individuals that have radicalized online. We're not really talking about people that have gone to terroristic countries, done a bunch of training, and come back. These are people that may be sympathetic to those causes, and those initials are infinite at this point. It really just depends on where the extremist location is, but they empathize or are sympathizers with that movement and want to become a part of it. They radicalize online, they get all the information online, and at one point, and even now, I know that there are multiple online newsletters where this information is available for people to carry out attacks. And the organizations are calling for lone wolf attacks because that is their plan to bring bloodshed to American soil. So, and what really prompted me to do this was the vehicle attack in New Orleans, because as soon as it happened, I remember the issue of one of those online newsletters that called for that specific attack. It said how it was inexpensive, easy to carry out. It documented how to outfit the vehicle to cause even more damage to people, as if running them over wasn't enough. I'm not gonna go into the specifics of what it called for. The brothers that carried out the Boston bombings, they got their information from the same newsletter on how to build those bombs, those particular types of bombs. So lone wolves, again, they can radicalize online, they can be anybody. The stereotype needs to be thrown out because that's where people act inappropriately towards other individuals based on the wrong information, okay? Lone wolves can be anybody that feels for that cause and wants to take action. That's it, okay? So you should be looking for very specific things when if you feel like someone is changing, someone's ideals are changing to the point that they may be carrying out an attack. And that's why I say that this form of terrorism is closer to you than you think. Quite frankly, in recent events, and I'm not a purveyor of big conspiracy theories or I really don't like to, but I would not be surprised if the DCA recent helicopter and plane collision, I wouldn't be surprised if that helicopter was stolen and that collision was on purpose. I'm not saying it was, I just said I wouldn't be surprised if it was. And we've had terrorist attacks or lone wolf attacks. Like I said, the Fort Hood attack was military personnel, so it's not impossible. So I really just wouldn't be surprised. So, and all they want to do is cause damage. Again, bring the bloodshed to America. So the term, we haven't talked about it in a long time. It's kind of become cliche and kicked under the rug. But if you see something, say something. We haven't talked about it in a long time because there hasn't been any major attacks, but there have been several small lone wolf attacks, and I think that they are going to be on the rise. So keeping yourself alert, keeping yourself armed, whatever position you're in whatever jobs that you work, when you notice something out of the ordinary or something being done wrong, you need to tell the correct people. No, I'm not saying you need to go interact with that person and try to stop it. These are not the movies. If this is the case, you could easily get yourself killed, or you could incorrectly harm someone else. It is not your job to do that unless you're law enforcement, okay? The other reason those stereotypes need to be thrown out is because, again, lone wolf or terrorism can be domestic or it can be international. So it is not whatever you think the typical terrorist is. It is, again, the person who develops some sort of political or religious or just an adverse ideology to the countries and wants to cause damage to promote that ideology. So paying attention to people becoming more radical, people agreeing with radical, people agreeing more with radical views or, reports and kind of cheering on things that are happening in those venues or in that light. Those are some indications that that person may be starting to lean towards, feeling and believing that way. Accumulation of of any types of materials that they would need to carry out an attack that is abnormal for that person. And again, I know this can be a slippery slope. Of course, it's everybody's right to buy ammo and it's everybody's right to buy firearms. And but they're, along with other signals, it being atypical for that person, something that they never did before, and all of a sudden they're doing it without any real word of like, hey, let's go have some fun. Just if they're doing it in secret or they're trying to hide it, those can be red flags. It's a very difficult thing to defend against, but if you see something, say something. If it's mental illness, if it's anything. But I think these attacks are going to be on the rise, especially with the political stances we may be taking, or even military actions we may be taking outside of our borders. That response would be lone wolves trying to get back at the country. But the main thing is keep your eyes open, pay attention to your surroundings, take care of you and the people that are with you, and be ready to respond. As always, if you guys have any comments or anything like that, I just thought that was something that need to be explained a little bit better to the public, so that people are aware of what's going on, why it's going on, how it's going on. So with that being said, Gun Brothers out. I will talk to you guys soon. Thanks for joining me on Guns and Beer. See you next time.